a 17-year-old making his Aston Villa debut against the champions of Europe. Nobody expected him to become the story of the night. But in Salzburg, Brian Madjo shocked Paris Saint-Germain and became the youngest player ever to score in a UEFA Super Cup. For a moment, Aston Villa believed they could bring down one of the most powerful teams in world football, but PSG had one more answer. And when the final whistle came, Paris had done it again. The setting was Red Bull Arena Salzburg in Austria. 2 teams, 1 trophy, and for Aston Villa a chance to prove they belonged at football's highest table. PSG, meanwhile, were chasing something different. Another trophy, another statement, and a second consecutive UEFA Super Cup. From the opening stages, PSG looked like PSG. They controlled possession, they moved the ball quickly, and they waited for Aston Villa to make one mistake. That mistake came in the 20th minute. Villa lost possession high up the pitch. The ball found Désiré Doué. Doué spotted Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. One touch created the space. Then Kvaratskhelia unleashed his shot. Top corner. PSG had the lead. 1-0. And at that moment, the match appeared to be following the script everyone expected. But Aston Villa refused to disappear. And then came the teenager, Brian Madjo, 17 years old, making his Aston Villa debut. Standing against PSG's elite defenders, Madjo played with no fear. He fought for every ball. He used his power. He kept asking questions. And Villa kept growing into the game. PSG had the lead, but the European champions no longer looked comfortable. Then, just before half-time, the moment arrived. The cross came towards the far post. Madjo attacked it and volleyed it home. 1-1. The teenager had done it. And he had become the youngest scorer in UEFA Super Cup history. At half-time, one of football's giants had been dragged into a real fight. PSG had started as favourites, but Aston Villa had belief. And Brian Madjo had given them something even more dangerous: hope. Could Villa finish the job? Could a 17-year-old become the face of one of the greatest nights in Aston Villa's modern history? Or would PSG respond like champions? The second half became a test of nerve. Villa had shown they could hurt PSG, but PSG had more control, more experience, and eventually more quality. In the 61st minute, Désiré Doué found the decisive moment. He finished past the goalkeeper, but there was a problem. The flag went up. Offside. For a moment, Villa thought they had survived. Then VAR stepped in. The decision was checked, and the goal stood. 2-1 PSG. Doué had turned from creator in the opening goal to match winner, and Aston Villa were behind again. But even then, Aston Villa refused to surrender. They kept pushing, they kept believing, and they kept trying to find one final moment. For PSG, the final minutes were about defending their crown. For Villa, they were about chasing history. The equaliser never came, and when the final whistle sounded, PSG were champions again, 2-1. A second consecutive UEFA Super Cup, and another trophy for Luis Enrique's PSG. PSG won the trophy. Désiré Doué scored the winner. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia gave them the perfect start. And Paris proved once again that this team knows how to win finals. But there was another story. A 17-year-old on his Aston Villa debut. Against the champions of Europe, Brian Madjo did not win the trophy, but he announced himself to European football. PSG left Salzburg with the silverware, left with proof that even against the very best, they could compete. Think somewhere in the middle of it all is that even against the very best, they could compete. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a 17-year-old made sure nobody would forget his name. PSG are champions again. And if you enjoyed, subscribe to Field of Titans.